I'm Reed, just a normal 27-year-old guy talking about building wealth and getting your life together in your 20s. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So, I gotta be honest, there is something that has been seriously grinding my gears lately. Something that feels like it's been whispering in my ear. No, screaming in my ear. Since I was a kid, and I've been doing a ton of research, crunching numbers, talking to people, and honestly, I need your input on this. Especially if you're in America. But even if you're not, I want to know if you feel this same insane pressure, this weird, unsettling, lost feeling when it comes to money and housing, because I'm about to drop a truth bomb that might ruffle some feathers. I've decided to stop chasing homeownership, at least for now, and I'm choosing to rent and invest my money instead. Now, hold your horses. I'm not saying homeownership is bad. I'm not saying you should be a forever renter, eventually. Yeah, I want a place of my own, but what I am saying is that right now, for a lot of us, especially in our 20s and early 30s, the so-called American dream is actually a financial nightmare, and it is about making a smarter, more calculated move based on the brutal reality of the numbers today. You know the drill, right? Go to school, get a degree, land a high-paying job, buy a house, start a family, the whole white picket fence, 2.5 kids, golden retriever fantasy, and you hear it constantly everywhere. You need to buy a house ASAP. You need a house in your 20s. It is the best asset. Nothing beats real estate. Renting is just throwing money away. You're paying someone else's mortgage, blah, blah, blah. It is the same old broken record. But let me tell you what they don't tell you. What I've painfully realized through my own deep dives and personal research. Owning a home is not always, and I mean not always, the best financial decision. Especially when the economic climate is as messed up as it is right now. We're talking about home prices that are completely out of whack. Interest rates that are higher than my stress levels on a Monday morning. It is a tricky tightrope walk. And frankly, a lot of people are falling off. So for those of you who've been with me for a while, you know, my situation, I'm currently living with my parents, saving like a maniac. I'm at my job, and there is a strong possibility of a promotion coming my way soon, which is awesome, right? But it also means I'd have to relocate out of state and finally live on my own. So I've been obsessing over this decision, buy or rent, and I pulled some real-world numbers. Just to make a point, let's say I want to buy a house in this new state, a starter home. Nothing fancy. We're talking a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, built in like 1965. Something super modest. It's about $400,000. Now, I know some states have first-time homebuyer incentives, but for simplicity, let's say I put 10% down. That is $40,000. Gone. Just like that, into the abyss of a down payment. And with current interest rates hovering around 7%, for a 30-year loan, my monthly mortgage payment would be around $2,400. But wait, there is more. We gotta add property taxes, insurance, and those sneaky phantom costs. You know, the ones no one talks about until your water heater explodes at 3 a.m. Maintenance, unexpected repairs, a leaky roof, a broken appliance. These things add up faster than you can say, financial ruin. So, if we factor in all that, we're easily looking at around $3,200 a month for a very modest, probably slightly outdated place. Now, let's compare that to renting in the same area. A decent 2-bedroom apartment, probably newer, probably with amenities, is about $1,800 a month. That includes about $1,650 for base rent, plus another $150 for utilities, electricity, internet, the works. So $1,800 a month versus $3,200 a month. That is a $1,400 difference every single month. And what would I do with that $1,400? I wouldn't be throwing it away. Oh no, I'd be investing it aggressively, strategically. I'd be maxing out my Roth IRA. I'd be putting it into low-cost index funds, like VU or VUG, long-term growth assets, letting compound interest do its magic in the stock market. Let's do some more math, because remember, it all comes down to math and psychology. If I invest that $1,400 a month consistently for 5 years, that is $16,800 invested per year, at an average historical market return of 8% annually. After just 5 years, I'd have over $103,000. That is my initial investment plus capital gains. Now, let's look at the equity I'd build in a home during that same 5 years, the first 10 to 20 years of a mortgage. You're mostly paying interest, so after 5 years, even if home prices went up, I'd probably only have about $60,000 to $70,000 in home equity. And that is assuming the housing market keeps soaring, which is never a guarantee. It is not a straight line up forever, as much as realtors want you to believe it is. And here is another huge perk of renting: zero maintenance costs. When something breaks, it is the landlord's problem, not mine. I'm not on the hook for a new roof. A busted furnace or a clogged drain, that financial burden and headache are completely removed. Plus, renting gives me incredible flexibility. What if I move to this new state? take the job and absolutely hate it. If I'm renting, I can just pick up and leave once my lease is up. I'm not tied down by a massive asset that takes months, even years, to sell. I'm not stuck trying to offload a house in a down market, instead of having $40,000 tied up in a down payment. Money that is just sitting there, illiquid. I can use that capital to grow diverse assets, not just one single physical asset. And I know what some of you are thinking, but rent can always go up. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Rent can increase. But guess what else can go up? Property taxes, home insurance, and those pesky maintenance costs. A new roof can cost $15,000. A new HVAC system, $10,000. These aren't hypothetical, they're realities of homeownership. So while your rent might go up by a couple of $100s a year, your homeownership costs can skyrocket without warning. It is a catch-22, and frankly, I think it is a huge oversight in the renting is throwing money away argument. Nobody talks about how your insurance, property taxes, and maintenance fees can also go up, or how they can hit you with a massive bill out of nowhere. So it is not as simple as they make it sound. And here's the honest truth about the current housing market in America. Home values are up a ridiculous 42% nationally since 2020. Mortgage rates have doubled, making everything even more unaffordable. Inventory is all over the place. And here's the really messed up part. Big investors and banks are buying up starter homes. This isn't some conspiracy theory. It is happening. They're squeezing out first-time homebuyers, making it even harder for regular people to get a foot in the door. So, if I were to buy a house right now, I'd be buying at peak prices with peak interest rates. It feels like a trap, like I'd be setting myself up for failure. And honestly, a lot of people, especially in America, classify wealth as real estate. It's like you haven't made it unless you own a house. You could have an $800,000 stock market portfolio, but if you don't have a house, you're still seen as somehow less successful. At least that is how I feel. America treats younger generations, and if I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. Seriously, let me know. But that has been my experience. That is what I've grown up with. Look, I'm not saying owning a house isn't great. I would love to own a house one day. I'm not trying to be a forever renter, but wealth also comes from stock market returns, from a solid dividend portfolio, from compound growth over time, from liquidity and flexibility. And right now, I'd rather own income, producing assets like stocks or ETFs, instead of going all in on a mortgage, and then not having the capital to invest in my Roth and 401k, or buy into those promising companies I've researched. I'd be strapped for cash, financially constrained. So for now, I'm personally leaning hard towards renting and investing that extra money, not because I don't want a home, but because renting allows me to invest. It allows me to stay flexible, and most importantly, it lets me build wealth on my own terms. Buying will definitely happen for me later down the line, but I'm not going to force it just because society tells me it is the smart thing to do. I'm not going to be a sheep. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Whether you live in America or not, what are your thoughts on buying versus renting right now? Especially if you're in this younger age group. Am I making the right decision, or am I completely off base? Because at the end of the day, I'm just trying to build my financial foundation, trying to do the right thing and make smart financial decisions for my future. So drop your thoughts below, hit that like button. If this resonated with you, or if you've been thinking about this too, let me know if you're renting, saving for a home, or investing instead. I'm genuinely curious to hear your path, and I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for watching. See you now. Let's talk about the psychological toll, because that is a massive piece of this puzzle. The pressure to buy a house, especially in your 20s, is immense. It is like this invisible clock ticking. Everyone around you, your parents, your friends, social media, they're all pushing this narrative. But what if that narrative is fundamentally flawed, especially for our generation? What if blindly following it is actually detrimental to your long-term financial health? Think about it. Buying a house often means sacrificing other crucial financial goals. It means less money for your retirement accounts, less money for emergencies, less money to invest in yourself, in education, in skills that could boost your income. It is a huge commitment, not just financially, but emotionally. And for many, it becomes a golden handcuff, trapping you in a location, trapping you in a job you might not love, because you're burdened by this massive mortgage payment. That is not freedom, that is a different kind of servitude. I'm all about financial independence, about having choices, and right now, for me, renting provides more choices, more freedom. It allows me to allocate my capital where it can work hardest for me, not where society tells me it should go. Let's break down the opportunity cost even further. That $40,000 down payment. It is not just $40,000, it is $40,000 that isn't compounding in the stock market. If I put that $40,000 into an index fund, returning 8% annually in 10 years, that $40,000 could be worth nearly $86,000. In 20 years, it could be over $186,000. and in 30 years, nearly $400,000. That is the power of compound interest. A true wealth builder. Now compare that to the equity in a house, which is often illiquid, subject to market fluctuations, and comes with a boatload of expenses. It is about what you're giving up, the invisible costs, the foregone gains, every dollar unnecessarily spent on a down payment, on property taxes, on repairs, is a dollar that isn't working for your future. It is a dollar that isn't growing into something much larger. And in my book, every unnecessary expense is like firing a tiny employee who could have been earning money for you. Don't be quick to fire those employees. Trust me, I also think about the true cost of time. The time spent maintaining a house, dealing with repairs, landscaping, that is time that could be spent on a side hustle, learning a new skill, spending time with loved ones, or simply enjoying your life. My time. Your time is our most precious asset, and I'm not willing to trade thousands of hours every year for the privilege of owning a depreciating asset. Because let's be real, many aspects of a house depreciate. Roofs, appliances, hot water heaters, they all have a lifespan, and they all cost money to replace. So, while the land might appreciate, the structure itself is a constant drain. That is a reality that is often conveniently overlooked when people evangelize homeownership. This isn't about being anti-homeownership. It is about being pro-financial freedom. It is about making decisions based on cold, hard data and a realistic understanding of the current economic climate, not on outdated societal expectations or what your uncle at Thanksgiving tells you. It is about understanding that wealth is built in many ways. And for many of us, especially at 27, in this insane market, the path to wealth might look different than it did for our parents' generation. It might mean choosing financial flexibility over a fixed asset. It might mean prioritizing diversified investments over a single illiquid one. It might mean delaying gratification and resisting the urge to keep up with the Joneses, because the Joneses are often broke and stressed out, just trying to maintain appearances. I also worry about the psychological burden of being poor, having a huge mortgage payment that eats up a massive chunk of your income, leaving you with no wiggle room, no emergency fund, no money for fun. That sounds like a recipe for chronic stress and unhappiness. I've seen it happen to friends, to colleagues. They bought into the dream, and now they're working overtime, stressed out, because every penny goes towards that house. And they can't take risks. They can't pursue opportunities. Because they're chained to that mortgage. That is not the life I want. I want to be able to take calculated risks, to explore different avenues, to have the freedom to say no to things that don't serve my long-term goals and right now. For me, that means choosing a different path. So, to reiterate, this isn't about saying homeownership is bad. It is about saying homeownership at any cost or at the wrong time is a terrible financial decision.